Okay. In this video segment, we're going to be talking about the tools in the melody section of the Poetry Toolbox. Melody has to do with the way words sound. So words that rhyme, onomatopoeia, which we're going to talk about in a minute, alliteration, sibilants, assonance, and consonants. So these are some of the tools in the melody toolbox which affect the way the words are said, the way they sound, the way they roll off the tongue. So let's go forward here. The first thing we're going to talk about is rhyme. And probably when you were back in kindergarten or when you started to read Dr. Seuss or some of your early books, you learned what rhyme is. And we also call it end rhyme because it's dealing with the end of a word. So a rhyme that occurs in the last syllables of verses in a poem. So for example, the word know, though, and snow, even though they're not all spelled the same, they all have the same sound at the end of the word. Know, though, and snow. Okay? So let's read this poem. Whose woods these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. So this is a poem by Robert Frost, a very, very famous poet. And he uses rhyme, end rhyme, to rhyme 3 of the lines together. So when you see rhyming words in poems, that's an example of a melody tool that the poet is using. Another melody tool is called onomatopoeia. It is a very strange word, onomatopoeia. And onomatopoeia is a word that imitates the sound that it represents. So, for example, bam, or crash, or boom, puff, zoom, biff, bam, sock, pow. We see this a lot in comic books. But we also see it a lot in poetry. So here's another famous poem, or it's at least the start to a famous poem, called Honky Tonk in Cleveland, Ohio by Carl Sandburg. It's a jazz affair, drum crashes and cornet razzes. The trombone pony neighs and the tuba jackass snorts. The banjo tickles and titters too awful. So the words that are in red are actually onomatopoeia. They're words that sound like what they represent. You know, drum crashes, the cornet razzes, the pony neighs, etc. So these are all examples of onomatopoeia. Sometimes you see this too when talking about animals. The cat meows, the dog barks, the cow moos, the pig oinks. Those words are all examples of onomatopoeia. So the next tool is called alliteration. And alliteration refers to the repetition of sounds, usually consonants, at the beginning of the words. So not vowels, but consonants. So here's an example. Well, let's look at the picture first. 6 silly sisters selling shiny shoes. That is an example of alliteration because we have the s sound at the beginning of each of the words. Over here we have Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. And we have the P sound at the beginning of each word. That's alliteration. Or summer is a soft and soulful season. That's also alliteration. So you might have noticed that alliteration is basically a tongue twister. It doesn't have to be this long. It could be just 2 words in a row. Like Peter Piper, walked a long way home. Peter Piper would be an example of alliteration. Silly Sally, or summer is a soft season. It doesn't have to be a whole sentence full of it. Just a couple in a row is enough to be an example of alliteration. Now, sibilants. Sibilants is a special form of alliteration. It's still alliteration, but it's a special type of alliteration using the softer consonants that create hissing or buzzing sounds. So like j, s, sh, th, ch, z, f, and x. Okay? So anytime we have these words, it will create what we call sibilants. So here's an example. Streams will swell and flow out. raging rivers, shower of 1,000 fires, and will pattern come together in a smooth and intense melody. So all of those hissing sounds that you hear repeated throughout the poem, that's sibilance. Another example would be raging rivers rage through the gorge, or through the gorgeous gorge, or anytime in that particular example we have the j sound. So whenever you see these consonants repeated in a section of a poem, that's an example of sibilance. Okay. Assonance. Assonance, yes, that's actually a real term in poetry, even though it looks a little funny. It's the repeating of vowel sounds in the middle of words. So it's kind of like rhyme because they have the same vowel sound. You'll see what I mean as soon as we read the poem. But it's not really quite rhyme because the words don't end the same. They just have the vowel sound. So for example, reach and beach rhyme, but reach and beast aren't quite a rhyme. They both have the same vowel sound, E, the E-A vowel sound, but they're not exactly a rhyme because they end. This one ends in ch and this one ends in st. So it's not the same as rhyme, but it's similar. So listen to the common sounds you hear in this poem. Upon an island hard to reach, the east beast sits upon his beach. Upon the west beach sits the west beast. Each beach beast thinks he's the best beast. So you have the E, and you also have some for est and west, etc. Best. All right, so but it's a lot of E for reach, east, beast, beach, beach, beast, each beach, beast, beast, right? That's an example of assonance. But you know what? You might have noticed that there's actually a lot of sibilance in this poem too, with the S's, the st, s, west, east, beast, thinks, he's. So this poem actually is a great example of sibilance too. But you can see the assonance in it with the vowel sounds. Now, consonance is the repetition of the middle or ending consonants in words. So, for example, let's see, the repetition of the middle or ending consonants. So I see we have some beginning consonants posted here. So that's back to alliteration. So I think actually we need to go and check out this, because this is not a good example. He clasps the crag with the crooked. Here we have an example of it. Hands. Close to the sun in lonely lands. Those are examples of alliteration, so we need to fix that. But over here where we have the azure world, that's an example of consonants because it's happening in the middle of the words. So that's it for the Poet's Toolbox. And actually, that's it for the melody part of the toolbox. We're going to have another little segment on rhythm in the next video segment. And that's it.